To today's weekly webinar on why market your business online. My name is Sue White, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about me in just a minute. But we are affiliated with the Carolina Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives and the South Carolina chapter of SCORE, and we just want to thank them for helping us sponsor these webinars that we put on each week, and they help us with some of the expenses and so forth that are involved with that. So hopefully everyone here is a member of their local Chamber of Commerce, and if not, you need to look into that. And also SCORE, if you're not familiar with that, it's the Service Corps of Retired Executives. And if you have any kind of a business question, or especially if you're a startup business and need some help, they are there to help you. So look up your local chapter of SCORE and make an appointment to go see them, because there's a lot of experience there to tap into, and they are there to help you grow your business and make sure that you've covered your bases in a lot of different areas. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. I do want to say that this is the launch again of our 13-week series. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about today, we are going to go in depth in the coming weeks into step-by-step how I'm marketing of your business. We're going to talk about local businesses primarily, and how to get them ranked, how to show up so that people will see you on the page one and be calling your business. So what we recommend is, and we're going to talk about this more as we go along, that this is not rocket science. It's not some big secret that only us online marketers know anything about. Anybody can do it, but it is time consuming, so we recommend that if you want to take control of your own online marketing, that you set aside an hour a day initially, and then once you're seeing some results, you can back that off a little bit. But an hour a day to do this for yourself and set yourself a schedule. And we'll be talking about that in the coming weeks, what components go into that schedule as we're working through here. Again, there is a questions box on the right-hand side of the screen. Be sure and type your questions in there as we are going through, and I'll try to keep an eye out for those. But if I miss them while we're actually covering the information today, I will take a look at them at the end and make sure that no question goes unanswered as we're going through here. Now, I have a slide here. It's just who am I and why should you listen to me. This is the only time in the 13-week series that I actually talk about who is Sue White. Some of you may be new to our weekly webinars, and this is just to give you an idea that I might know a little bit about what we're talking about here. I also am a local business owner. I work with businesses to help them be found online. I'm a partner in Business Training Team, which is the company that presents these webinars for you. And I spend several hours every week to stay current with the changes. And that's why we kind of repeat these periodically, these 13 weeks, because things change so rapidly on the internet. And we want to bring you guys the most recent information. I was even this morning, I was spending some time researching something for one of my clients, that some things that have changed, and to help them. So like I said, we'll be unpacking these concepts over the coming weeks. So exactly what is SEO? You may have heard that term, SEO, search engine optimization, and basically what it is, it's just a way of improving your visibility on a web page to the search engines. And a lot of things, and I don't think I have a slide on this, so if you should be taking some notes. I should have said that earlier. Make sure you have a pad and paper to take some notes. We'll be making these slides available to you when we send out the replay, but you should take some notes. But there are certain things with being found online that haven't changed over time. No matter what Google does, no matter what algorithm change there is, there's certain things that stay pretty consistent with Google. And we're going to be talking about those throughout today, throughout this course. But you want to write these three things down. The things that the search engines love. Number one, relevance. and that's where your content comes in. They need to know that your website is relevant to what the person is searching for. So if I have a problem come up and I need a plumber, and I type in plumber and I'm located in a specific area of the country, in my case it's Myrtle Beach, if I'm located, I type that in, it's going to return to me plumbers that are in Myrtle Beach because they have the word plumber predominant within their website. And we'll be talking about that, how many times you listed, what's too much, what's too little, that kind of thing. But that's the first thing that the search engines look for, is relevancy. The second thing is prominence. And prominence is how often are you listed on the web. And we'll be getting more into that, not next week, but the week after, different sites where you can list your website and put a link there. But that's what they're looking for. How many other places on the internet are you listed? Having a listing, if you're a local business, having a listing from your Chamber of Commerce, that link is very important because it shows Google that you're a local person. So the third thing is what we refer to as distance. And again, this only applies to local businesses, but when we show you it's called the Google plus local area of the searches. Like I said, if I live in Myrtle Beach, I type in plumber, it's going to return to me plumbers in Myrtle Beach. It's not going to return to me plumbers in an outlying city, Georgetown or someplace like that, because the distance is important to where it is I'm searching. So those are the three things, especially for the Google plus local. It's relevance and predominance and distance. And those things haven't changed over time. And but that's just what we're talking about here, is things you can do to be listed organically. And what I mean by organically here, and this is just an example, and you guys are probably familiar with this, but these are your paid listings, the ones that are up at the yellow at the top and then down the side. People pay to be there. Depending on the search term, they could be paying quite a bit of money if you click through on that listing. The organic listings will appear above the Google plus local listings. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 1, but they will appear up above, and they just naturally, because of that relevance, because of that redundancy and so forth, what they're doing on their sites, is going to make them appear here. And then these little teardrops is what we're talking about when we refer to your Google plus local listings, and this is where they will appear. And then below those, and usually there's 7, sometimes there's less, but anywhere between 3 and 7 listings will be there. Then you'll see the organic listings again below those particular listings. So what we're talking about throughout this course is how to get here where people will notice you. Most people, and I don't know if I have a slide on these stats, but most people will locally will click on an organic listing or on the Google listings before they will go up here to the paid listings. But you also want to keep in mind that there are 2 other search engines you want to be aware of, Yahoo and Bing, and we'll be talking about how to get listed on those as well. So you don't want to ignore those, and what we're talking about today applies to both, any search engine and how to get listed there. But what we're talking about with SEO, it really is inbound marketing. And what we mean by that is getting your products or your services in front of the customer at the moment they are looking for that information. So the minute somebody types in pest control, and some of you guys need to give me in the questions box there, give me some ideas of what industries you're in, and we can talk about those specifically. But if you're a local business and you are selling shoes, so they type in shoes, you want to be sure and appear there at the top. So that's what we're talking about. SEO, it's inbound, it's not interruptive, and if you're sitting there watching your favorite TV show and the commercial comes on, that's interruptive advertising. And they're just trying to make sure that you see their name as often as possible so that when you do need that service, rather than looking it up online, you'll automatically know who to go to. And one thing with SEO, and we'll get much more into this when we get into the social media area and so forth, but you are earning and building trust, and that is the idea. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So you can do that with, for example, by having reviews on your site so people can look and see what other people are saying about your company. There's other ways you can get in here and interact. You want to always be trying to interact with your audience, and that hour that I talked about that you should be spending on your own marketing should be, part of that should be interacting with your target audience. Just want to list a few misconceptions. One is SEO is free marketing, and from a dollars perspective, it can be free. However, from a time perspective, it is not, and that's why we mentioned the hour a day. Some people think it doesn't work, and you know, that it's some kind of black magic that we do. I said that earlier. You know, it's rocket science, things like that. That it's just you know, hard to do, and it's just a matter of, again, one of the things I can't stress too strongly, and that's why I said an hour a day, is consistency. That you're consistently putting a blog post up there like once a week or once every other week, that you're consistently interacting with people on social media. So it's not, okay, well, I worked all week, I'm going to sit down for 6 hours on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, I'm going to get in there and do my online marketing thing. You know, it needs to be consistent over time, and if it's consistent, it will work. And what we're going to teach you is not black magic, it's not rocket science, it's just consistently being there in front of your target audience. So it is a legitimate marketing strategy, and it is practiced by the world's most successful companies. And what is so great about SEO is that it's a level playing ground. And I'm not sure why that flipped over there. Oops. Oh, okay. Hang on here just a minute. There we go. It is a level playing ground, and you can, you know, if you have a competitor that's a big company and they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars, you can compete with them just as well as someone who has a very low budget. And let me just see. And there's a question here by Maria. It says, does this only apply to social media or also to your website? And it does apply to your website or your blog site. And we'll get more into that when we talk about content. Yes, you need to be updating it on a regular basis. You may want to have, you always want to have, for example, Maria, to answer your question, a place for people to type in comments. And if somebody does comment, you want to make sure that you respond to that comment, or a place for somebody to post reviews on your site. And we'll be getting into some of this as we go through the coming weeks. But it is, it involves not only social media, but also working through your website as well. I'm not sure. Maria says, can you give an example of how a micro business would do this? And can you tell me what you mean by a micro business? And what, maybe get an idea of what business you're in, and we'll talk about that. But sure. Okay, so who cares? You know, and this should be no big secret. There are over 2 billion people online. 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. And keep in mind that a lot of people aren't just typing in, you know, I need a roofer, let's say. They're not just going to their local search and typing in roofer or roofing to see what roofers are there. A lot of them will, you know, will ask somebody. So they'll say, you know, I need a new roof, and they'll say, oh, well, I use Contract Exteriors, and they're a great roofing company. Well, what I would do, and what a lot of people are doing, is Of course, that person doesn't have their phone number, first of all, on the top of their head. They remember the name. So they'll come in here and, to their search engine, and they'll type in the name of the company, Contract Exteriors. Well, if they type in the name of your company and you're nowhere to be found, they can't find a phone number, they most likely are not going to take that next step and go pick up the yellow pages and see if they can find you in the yellow pages. So what I'm talking about here, it's just not important to be on page 1. It's important to be found, period. So even if you're not on page 1, you still want to be on the internet where people can type in your name, the name of your business, and find you online. And the majority of web traffic is driven by the big 3 search engines. And, Bing is starting a real push on Google. And so Google isn't the only game in town. You want to remember the other search engines as well. But here's an example of how the traffic is distributed. This graphic was done about a year ago, so I'm sure it's changed a little bit. But if you are in the #1 position, and what we're talking about here specifically is the #1 position in the Google plus local listings, you are going to get 42% of the traffic. So I want you to remember this a little bit because we're going to do an analogy here. If you are #2, you're going to get about 12%. If you're #3, you're going to get 9%, and then on down. And this was interesting to me. If you are, this is ranked #2 on page, on page 1. This is page 2. If you are actually on page 2, you're still going to get some results because people will look at page 1, not see what they're looking for, and go on to page 2. So even if you're on page 2, you're going to get a little bit here with that. And Diana, I'm not sure what the source is for this data. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. And yeah, it seems lower, but yeah, the idea though is that if you are ranked on page 1, you can see you're going to get the big bulk of this of the clicks through to your site being on page 1. And a lot of things affect this. For example, reviews. If someone's looking at those Google plus local and they see that somebody has no reviews and somebody else has 5 reviews or 10 reviews, that will affect too how many click-throughs they are going to get on their site. But just using this as a basic example, if you typed in plumbing Myrtle Beach, for example, and these are monthly searches, you can see that there's 1,600 monthly searches for the term plumbing Myrtle Beach. If you're a plumber here, in theory, if you're in the #1 position using their percentages, you could get 674 calls. #2, 190, and #3, 138. And even if you're getting only a fraction of those, you can see the importance of being on page 1, and that's why people are trying to do that and seeking to be on page 1. So some of the benefits, we've already talked about this. It boosts your website traffic. It will increase your visibility among your target audience, especially if you're a local business looking for local traffic. It will help you build relationships, and it helps to build your influence in the community. If you're doing it right, building, we're going to get more into that relationship building, but putting things on your blog site that shows that you know what you're talking about, doing things to promote yourself. It will increase sales because you'll get new customers from it. And this is what I was talking about earlier. The big guys can't outbid you. Now, those paid areas, the paid per click areas, yes, they can throw a lot of money at that and be at the top or be on the side. But as far as ranking organically or in the Google plus local, it doesn't matter if you're paying for paid advertising or not. A lot of things we're going to talk about will boost you, and they can't compete with that. It's just a matter of what you're doing. There is a downside. It can be slow to get results, and this is no more truer than it is today. It can take, it used to be we could rank somebody in 3 or 4 weeks, and now it seems to be taking 2 to 3 months. So it is a slow process, but if you're consistent over time, it does work. It is somewhat out of your control. You know, Google's the search engines are the ones that that have the results, and they produce those, and sometimes no matter what you do, it doesn't seem you can be ranked. But what we found, if you're consistent, if we just keep plugging away with the things we're going to teach you, it will happen. Consistent effort, I've already mentioned that, and of course there are no guarantees with the search engines, even if you do land on page 1, that the phone will ring, but it is all probability that you will. Now, one of the things we promised you is the 7 secrets that will help you rank above your competitors. So we're going to cover those here. If you hold on just a moment. Getting a raspy throat here. Thank you. So there are 7 secrets that you can do, and we're going to talk about each one here. And the first one, it all starts with the keywords. You need to know what people are looking for. We're going to go in and actually do a live demo of this. So if somebody could type in here like what kind of business you're in, so that I know what kind of keywords to use for an example. Okay. All right. Maria says she provides educational services to home-based and non-conventional learners. All right, so you're more national. You're not looking for local, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But your keywords, in-home care, okay, we'll take a look at some of these. Knowing what people are looking for. And the tool we use is the Google Keyword Tool. Choose your battles. Now, what do I mean by that? We had an attorney not too long ago that wanted to be ranked for 17 different keywords. Well, if we tried to go after 17 different keywords at one time, we would have had a difficult time getting him ranked for all 17. So what we did was narrow it down to the top 5 keywords that he wanted to be ranked for, and then we went after those. And that's what we recommend. When you are searching for your keywords, find your top 5 keywords. And that's what we're going to concentrate on throughout this training in the next few weeks, is what are those 5 keywords and what you can do to get found for those 5 keywords. So choose your battles, narrow it down. Don't try to go after everything under the sun. Don't spread yourself too thin, the same thing. If you're trying to go after too many keywords, you'll be spreading your focus, and you want to focus on those top 5 keywords. So what I'm going to do here is just show you how I would do this. So let me switch programs here and go to the internet, and I'm just going to type in here Google Keyword Tool. And when you do that, it's the top one. So I'm going to click right there. And while it's loading, let's see what some of the, so we have health and wellness, subcontracting. Susan, I'd have to be a little more specific than just subcontracting. What is it you're subcontracting? Doggy daycare. Okay. Now, Jody, I'm going to do this for Myrtle Beach because that's where I'm located. So, okay. So if I was going to do, for example, she had dog training, and you can do more than one. I have dog daycare. Now, one thing you want to do is you want to put in a generic keyword, and if you are a local business, you want to actually type in the local area. So here it would be like Myrtle Beach, just to see if there's any searches for that. Okay, and I would probably do dog kennel as well. Okay, now you want to say only show ideas that are closely related to my search term, because if I don't, I'm going to get a lot of things that are related to Myrtle Beach that have nothing to do with dog training or dog daycare. And then I always have this lovely little captcha to get through. And so we have dog training. There is nothing for Myrtle Beach dog daycare. I'm going to just, that surprises me. Oh, no, that surprises me that there aren't any searches for those, but you always want to try your city to see how many people are looking for that. But when I scroll down here, okay, on dog kennel, it's giving me a lot of things that probably don't apply, looks like. So I'm getting large dog, building a dog kennel. I'm going to take that one out of there. Doesn't look like it applies to what you're talking about there. Okay. But here we have dog training collars, dog training tips, dog training schools. And what you want to do, and I'm just going to point out here, up here at the top where it says global, that means the entire world. Local means continental United States. It's not local to Myrtle Beach, which is where I live. But so that kind of shows you high means there's a lot of competition for that word, and the other one there's medium. So what you're kind of looking for is a combination of some good size searches, but at the same time medium to low competition. And over here where it says local monthly searches, if I click there, it will sort it by the ones that have the highest searches there. So training dog, how to train, that doesn't make sense, how to training a dog, dog training, that's kind of weird, training a dog. So these will give you some ideas of what are people searching for. And what you can do when you type in your search terms, and this is going to be your homework assignment for next week, I can come up here and download and say all search results, and it will download it into you can download it into an Excel spreadsheet and kind of study it and see which keywords, which one of those 5 keywords that you want to go after. So for example, and let's see who else we have here. Laura has in-home care. I'm assuming it's mostly senior care. Trying to think of other terms that people would search on. Okay. Okay. And then you see that yeah, in-home care is by far the largest one that people are searching for. But sometimes it'll fool you. Sometimes something you think would be a high search term ends up not being such a high search term. So doing your homework here with that, yeah, it's Gordon asked in your search you did not fill out category, does it matter? And no, I don't think it matters so much there. I just do the word or the phrase and make sure that I only show ideas with that. So you want to do your homework. Like I said, some of you it'll take you longer than others. And there's a question, do we want to use high, medium, or low search terms? And what you're looking for, Maria, is a combination between those. You want to get the highest number of keywords with the lowest number of lowest competition. So this is kind of interesting here, I think, that the highest keywords by far was in-home care, but the competition is medium. So a lot of people are going for senior care and home care for seniors, and yet they have a lot lower search term. So this is why doing your homework and looking at this is really important. So she built her site around in-home care. She's going to have less competition than building it around senior care or home care for seniors and that kind of thing. So this is real interesting. Care in the home. In-home health care is another one that's here. So doing your homework, you probably won't find a lot that are low competition unless you're in a very kind of obscure business area. But this is what we're talking about here, making sure that you do your homework. And I'm going to go over here to Google too. We're going to do this. And I'm going to type in, let's see. Okay, I typed in dog training, and here is because I'm in Myrtle Beach, I'm seeing Myrtle Beach. So what you want to do too is your homework is to go through the Google keyword tool, determine what you think your top 5 keywords are, and then come into your competitors. And if I come in here to this Canine Command Center and I click on their site, let's see what we can find. If I do a right click and I do a view page source, so what I'm doing there, remember they were in the #1 position. So what I want to do is right here it says keywords. So their keywords is dog training, dog kennel, doggy daycare. So we didn't use doggy. Dog boarding, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So you want to kind of emulate what are the top keywords for the person that's ending up there in the page 1 position. Look at their description. You know, they have canine only kennel, overnight boarding, training. Say we ask for dog training, obedience school, and Myrtle Beach. Okay, so they've listed Myrtle Beach in their description. We provide dog daycare, kenneling, dog grooming, dog obedience training, because that's what we were searching on, was dog training. So that's right there in their description. It's in their keywords. So again, all I did was pull up that top person, their website, right-clicked on the website, and chose View Page Source to see what their keywords were. And I would, if I were you and doing my homework, I would do that with every one of these top 7 people and put them into like a Word document or a spreadsheet of, you know, this is the site and this is their keywords and this is their description, and kind of compare them and see which ones, you know, you'll probably see consistency that they're all showing up there because of their keywords and because of their description that is there. And then this is what I was talking about, reviews. You see PetSmart has 8 Google reviews. So if you can get your friends, family, neighbors, whatever, to come in after you've created a Google listing, and we're going to go over your Google listing next week on how to get this listing set up, but have them go in and do a review for you as well. So hopefully, Maria, that answers your question. You're looking for the best combination between medium and low competition and the highest number of searches on that. All right, so the #1, it all starts with the keywords. I cannot emphasize this enough. We're going to be hitting on keywords throughout the next 3 or 4 weeks as we're setting things up. So this is the foundation, and you want to know what your competition keywords is. Make sure you're using the same ones if you're trying to be ranked up there with them. Content is king. I talked about relevancy, and your content is what makes your site relevant to what someone is searching on. So search engines feed on content. You want to make sure that in that time you're allocating every day, that part of that is going to keeping your website and your blog site updated, not every day, but on a consistent basis, that you have a new post or you go in and you make a change, because even if you make a change to your site, it triggers the search engines to crawl your site again. So they feed on that. You want to make sure that they're always going through and their keywords are in there. Train Google to keep crawling and indexing your site. And the way you do that, like I said, is make a tweak here, a change there, change a keyword here or there, and they will continue to do that. And now this sounds crazy after I've talked about keywords all this time, but don't worry about keywords, just keep things relevant most of the time. And what I mean by that is find things that are, especially if you're a local marketer. If you're a local marketer, find things that are going on locally and post about them on your website or your blog site. Talk about, you know, the festival that's going on this weekend, and if you can tie it into your keywords, that all the better. But if you can't, talk about other things. If you're not trying to get ranked locally but nationally, tie in key topics of the day. I know one person said here, you know, health and wellness. Talk about the current trends in health. If you notice something that was on the news tonight that has to do with health and wellness, maybe a particular drug that they're either just got approved or there's problems with it or whatever, you want to make sure that you talk about that on your site, even if it doesn't have anything to do specifically with what you do. So it gets people coming back to your site, because one of the things that Google looks at is not only did people come to your site, how many click-throughs did you get to your site, but how long did they stay there? And if there was something on the news last night and you can kind of go with that and write an article about it, and somebody does a search on that particular term, especially if it's a little bit obscure, then you may pop up there on page 1 for a few days, because people are now searching on that, and they'll see it, and they'll come to your site, and they'll read the article. And while they're there, if the site attracts them, they'll keep looking around and see what kind of services you provide. So now Barbara says, where on your site would you talk about something current? Are you changing your home page? Well, we recommend that you always have on your site, you have a blog. If you don't, and we'll get into this more on the section of content is king, but we recommend you either have a website and a blog site, so your blog site links to your website. So talking about something, putting a link to your website will push that up. Or if you have within your website a blog page, and that's where you would put that information. So that would be your blog of the week or blog of the day, talking about what's going on in your neighborhood, in your local area, or talking about a hot topic that's going on right now. So, you know, don't make it, even though you've got those 5 keywords, it's not all about those all the time. You want to occasionally throw in something else that has nothing to do with your keywords, and people will start coming there as well. Naturally include keywords in your content, and by that I mean it used to be for that relevancy, people would type in the keyword like every other word would be, you know, dog training, doggy daycare. You know, it'd be all over and over and over again. Well, now Google really looks at that and says, oh, you're just trying to get our attention. You're not getting our attention anymore. So you need to write to your audience. Write like you're carrying on a conversation with a friend, and naturally include what it is you do or your keyword throughout there. The rule of thumb is that your keyword should not be mentioned any more than once every 100 to 150 words. So find variations of that keyword, and that's why when you do that Google keyword tool, print out, download that Excel spreadsheet, print it out and have it handy, so you'll have some alternate keywords that you can use throughout when you're doing your content and so forth. And we have a whole section content is king, and we'll get more into that, but it should look natural to the reader. Have an active social media presence. This is becoming more and more important to the search engines, that that when you do a blog post, that you have a Facebook page, and that you are going over there to the Facebook page or LinkedIn, and you're putting on there the link to your blog post, and people are coming in and they're liking it and that kind of thing. We'll be talking about more of that when we get into the social media area, but it's becoming more and more important. And Google has tied their Google Plus social media site with their Google Plus local listing, and when we set up next week the Google Plus local, we'll be talking about their social media site as well. So being social, making that part of that schedule every day, that you're getting in there and interacting with your audience. Putting share buttons. When you create a blog post, make sure that you have the share buttons where people can share it on Facebook or LinkedIn or tweet it out, whatever it might be with that. So making sure that those buttons are there on your site. And if you look at your competitors, you will see that your competitors have those as well, because it's all about engagement and making sure that you're connecting with your audience. And I would add one more thing here. I don't have a bullet point on it, but having a place for people to add comments. I mentioned that earlier, where they can comment on your blog post is very important as well. So getting links from other high-value sites, and we'll be talking about links in another webinar down the road, but a link is like a vote for your site. So it's like them saying, yes, I like what you have to say. Some votes count more than others, and I was talking about the link from your Chamber of Commerce over to your site weighs more in the eyes of Google than link from some other site that has a very low ranking, like a 0 or 1 ranking, coming over to your site. But we'll be talking about ranking our links more in depth. It used to be more links is good, but they have to be relevant links. A link from a site that has nothing to do with your site really doesn't count in Google's eyes, and we will be getting, like I said, more into links later. Okay, I think I got this in here twice. Well, okay. Another good way to get ranked. We have done very well with ranking videos. Google loves videos. As you know, they own YouTube, and YouTube is the second largest search engine on the internet. So they love doing a video. What we do, and we're going to teach you how to do in an upcoming webinar, is we add a page on our website for each one of those 5 keywords, and each one of those pages has a video on it. Now, a video doesn't necessarily mean that you have to dig out your video camera and take a video of something. It can be using a program that we use called Animoto, and it's A-N-I-M-O-T-O, and dropping some photos and putting some text in there, putting a little music behind it, and doing a short 1 minute, 1.5 minute little video of that, and then putting it on your YouTube channel and putting it on your website. And we have got, we had a client we were having a hard time ranking about 6 months or so ago, and when we added a video to every one of their 5 pages and optimized those, and we'll be teaching you how to do that, within a couple weeks they were right at the top of page 1. And not only was their Google Plus local listing there, their video was also on page 1, and their website was on page 1. So they were on page 1 3 times just by adding a couple more videos in there. Like I said, we'll be teaching you how to do this. But you can use cameras. You want to keep them with you, and if something comes up, you may want to video those. And then when you upload them to YouTube, you use the keywords in the video and in the video title. So you put it in the title, you use it in the description on YouTube, and that's what gets it ranked. If somebody types in your keyword, and this particular person, they happen to be a roofer. In fact, somebody on the site said they were from Greenville. It happened to be a roofer in Greenville, and now he's ranking well for that term, roofer, roofing, when we use those and put the keywords in there. So use video. I can tell you that your competitors are probably not using video, and this is one thing that will really pop you to page one, and we'll be teaching you how to do this in one of our other webinars. Examples here of leveraging channels: YouTube, Amazon, Craigslist is one. Putting an ad on Craigslist with a link back to your website, it can really bump your listing. So things you might not think about. Pinterest will be talking about that. It's having photos there and putting a link back to there. So, you know, being on YouTube with a link to your website in the description of the video, as well as your keyword. Amazon, if you've written, it's really easy to self-publish a book these days. So these are ways, but probably YouTube and Craigslist are the easiest ones to leverage and get ranked quickly. Put your content on them and they will rank, as it says there. So the number 7 thing to optimize for local to help kind of beat out your competition is to include local keywords throughout your content and site. And so what do I mean by that? And that's what, you know, in that whoever it was, I think it was Maria, if you're a dog trainer and you're obviously dog training is a local thing and you are in Georgetown, you want to say Georgetown dog trainer throughout your various posts and the titles of your posts and your pages. You want to use that local city name so that you can be found locally. Add your local address to your site. We'll be getting more into this next week, and we will be covering, you know, what if you work from your home and you don't want your home address to be displayed. We'll be showing you how to do that. But you need a local address to have a Google Plus local listing. It cannot be a P.O. box. So we'll be talking about that a little bit next week. Add a local phone number. If you're a local business attracting local people, you don't want an 800 number on your site. It looks like that, you know, people go there, they're looking for a roofer, they see an 800 number, they automatically assume that it must be somebody out of New York or something like that. So always use a local phone number. Get listed in local directories. We'll be covering that on an upcoming webinar. Create local videos that we talked about and get links from local organizations such as your Chamber of Commerce, or if you do any kind of volunteer work, you want to get some links from them. So those are the things that you can do that will help you outrank the other people that are already there on page one, because if you look at them and you want to study their websites a little bit, you will probably see very few videos, and so that's one way to really get ranked quickly. We're going to be getting into content more in a future webinar, but you want to make sure that you create content for people. I talked about that. Create it so that, you know, you're talking to a friend, you're explaining something to a customer. Don't do it for the search engines, or you will find yourself in trouble, because they can pick up on the little tricks like using the keyword too many times, or bolding and the keyword throughout the whole entire thing, and that kind of thing. So make sure you write for people. If people like your content, Google will take note. And how do they take note? They take note because of how many people come to your site and how long do they stay there. If they come to your site, look and bounce right back off because it's not speaking to them, then that really doesn't look too good to Google. Make it personal. Share your story. Share the stories of your customers and your clients. That's what will get people's attention. Someone here said that they're, in the health and wellness area. Tell your customers or your clients stories of how they were helped by what you had to offer them. Make it personal. Be consistent over time. I already mentioned that. An hour a day, 5 days a week, not 7 hours on Sunday. Okay. It's not a slam dunk. It is a time commitment, which equates to dollars. You want to make sure that you do content creation. Now, one thing we've started doing, which has been helpful for us, is as I'm looking for things on the internet, and you'll be doing your research for your keyword and that kind of thing. If you see something that's interesting that somebody talked about, well, if it's interesting to you, it's going to be interesting to your audience. And what we do is we just keep a little, I call it a swipe file, but we just keep a listing. I keep it on my desktop, and I just copy the URL for that, and then I tell it, in the swipe file, I type in what it was about. So when I want to do an article about that topic, I've got several different links that I can go back and research and see what people were writing about. So you want to be continually working on your content creation. You want to be continually working on link building, and we're going to show you how to do that. This is probably the one thing that is the strangest thing to local businesses as they're trying to do this themselves. So we're going to have a whole webinar on that and what you can do. It is laborious, but it's not, like I said, rocket science on how to do that. Realize that there is going to be a time commitment to get the results that you're looking for. If you want to outsource it, make sure that you find people that you can trust to do that. But it is worth it because the return of investment is well documented. We saw that graph earlier. If you are on page 1, people are going to find you. Initially, your goal should be just if somebody types in the name of my business, I want it to be found. That should be your goal initially, that I'm on several different places. People type in my name. If I ask my friend, I need a dentist, who would you recommend? And they say John Smith and Conway. If I type in John Smith, Conway SC, that John Smith comes up. If he doesn't, I'm not going to use him. So, and that's what a lot of people say. So, it is worth it to be found, and then of course you want to go from there and be found on page 1. Your website is your advertisement for you 24/7. It works for you no matter what is going on, so you want to make sure it's effective. It is a very sellable asset. If you're building a business and someday you'd like to say, man, I'd just like to retire or hand it over to children or grandchildren, a well-ranked website is very important to a potential buyer of your business. So I'm going to I see some other questions have come in. I'm going to answer those, and here is a place to send questions after the webinar. If you think of something later and want to ask me a question, I'll be glad to answer that question. So it's sue@businesstrainingteam.com, and there's a question about why is the hour important. The hour is important. First of all, if you schedule, if you put it into your schedule that I'm going to spend an hour, and what I mean by an hour, it doesn't have to be an hour all at one time. Maybe the first thing when I come in, before I start checking my emails, before I start doing anything else for my business, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, and I'm going to, either work on my social media connections, or maybe I'm going to go add myself to my business to another local site. I'm going to do my blog post, whatever it might be. If you consistently do it over time, that's what Google really looks for. The search engines really pay attention to. If you've got a site that hasn't been touched in 5 years, it will start following, as other people start optimizing their sites, your site will start falling off of page 1, even if it's on page 1 today. So that's why it's important to be consistent over time, especially when we get into the backlinking. Backlinks are really important that you do a few each day. So right now, if you're just getting started and going through these webinars, you probably won't be spending an hour a day. But as we add more and more and more to your arsenal of things to do, then you're going to create a schedule. You know, Monday I go in and I do a post on LinkedIn, I do a tweet, and I connect with people that way. Tuesday I come in, I create my blog post, I put it out on the social media, do some backlinks, whatever. So you're going to just build on that schedule as we go through here. So is it more important to just use your site or blog each day, or no, and I think I kind of answered that, Maria. I'm kind of going backwards through these questions. It's more important that you be consistent across the board on the internet. Some days you're going to spend more time on your website. Some days you're going to spend more time on social media. Some days you may spend more time doing some backlinking and so forth, but it's kind of spread out over the week as you're doing this. And I don't see any other questions. We still have a minute or two, so if you have questions, post it in there. Okay. Homework assignment, and we talked about this. Google Keyword Tool. So you want to make sure that you go in there and type in what you think is people are searching you for. You only want to show the closely related topics there, and then you want to download it to an Excel file. So that's your homework between now and next week, and to take a look at that, and then also study and see, again, do your go to the top positions, do a right click, view source, see what kind of keywords and description that your competitors are using. So that's your homework, to get that Excel file and then study your competitors and see what they're doing as well. And then next week we're going to do Google plus local secrets, and we'll do a little bit more on keywords and finding your target audience, and then we'll teach you how to build the perfect Google plus local listing. We'll also talk about creating an author box. Now, an author box doesn't apply to everybody. This is a local real estate agent. You can see his photo appears next to his listing. If you are in if you're a real estate agent, if you are in insurance, anything that's personal, you're going to want a photo here. It cannot be a logo, so it won't apply to everybody, but we'll talk about how to get it there. Okay, and Diana, you should have gotten an email on what you're talking about last night. If you did not, email me at sue@businesstrainingteam.com, and I'll make sure you get that information. She's one of our clients. So, all right, so that's it for today. We're at the top of the hour. Like I said, again, if you have questions, be sure and visit me at sue@businesstrainingteam.com, or down here at the bottom, this is where all of our upcoming webinars are listed. So I talked about the 13 weeks of webinars. If you want to be on those, you can go there and go ahead and register for those 13 weeks. And we will also be emailing you with the replay and with a link to download the slides. So, okay, Scott, yeah, but we will be sending a link to the slides, so that is great. So just keep in mind, again, SEO is not rocket science. It can be done by any small business owner if you just want to take the time to do it. And I really applaud those small business owners who do take the time to do it for themselves, because nobody knows your business like you do. And if you add content that your stories, it's from your heart, and if you're just consistent with it over time, you will rank, and you will rank well. And when people come to your website, when they do find you on page 1, it'll be worth staying on and looking at what you have to offer. So with that, I just applaud everybody here for being here, and we'll see you next week and learn how all the Google plus local secrets. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.